We are both lifestyle medicine doctors and co-founders at Gift of Health. At Gift of Health, we are helping people to transform their health and lives by using food as medicine, helping people to get off medication treadmill, to reverse chronic disease and lose weight and keep it off. Every week, we are bringing very special guests who are sharing their knowledge and wisdom of how to make these lifestyle changes easy. Today, we have a very special guest.
Yeah. Like if you remember, like a few months ago, we actually had Venkat Vedam and Sharmila Vedam like onto our show, like where I mean, cooked up a storm and they showed delicious plant-based meal. So well, today like we have her daughter Avantika, and we are so excited. And yes, you might be thinking, okay, maybe Venkat and Sharmila. I mean, they have done so much in the plant-based world, and they're helping so many people actually like getting into plant-based eating. But you know who's the smartest cookie in the house? You might be wondering it's them, but I actually it's Avantika. So we are really excited to have her here, and yes, we are. You will get to know a lot of things today.
Yes,
So
yeah, Avantika, like a little bit about welcome, Avantika, and the Gift of Health show. We are so glad that you joined us. For all of viewers, a little bit about Avantika. She is in no, well, we don't want to make it sound like she's so young and like, but
so like I would say yes, like Avantika is 20 years old, and now maybe like we'll just let Avantika. So Avantika, like would you like to tell like what are you doing now? What are you studying? A little bit about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for having me. Yeah, my name is Avantika. I'm 20. I'll be 21 in November. So on the cusp of being old, but I consider myself youthful and hopefully still a teenager. Um, but I'm currently studying marketing and sales. I'm going to be a junior in college. So again, kind of young, kind of old. But yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you, Avantika. And so uh, so one thing is like we have seen like Avantika's parents, like Venkat and Sharmila, like helping people transitioning to plant-based diet. So is this something that you got because like your parents forced you to, okay, so you need to eat plant-based to kid, or like, or what actually inspired you to be on this journey?
Yeah, for sure. So, like I said, I'm 20. My parents went vegan in 2016, and I actually went vegan before them. So they, as influential as they are now, and how much they like to, do activism for it. I was the trendsetter in this family. Not to boast. No, yeah. So I actually went vegan. Again, you always get something from someone else. So I saw a presentation on animal cruelty in the meat and dairy industry. A lot of people know what PETA is, but they kind of presented something similar. They showed pictures and just like the realities of how milk and meat is needed. And I was vegetarian growing up. I had eggs, but I never craved meat. So I thought I was doing it fine. And then I saw this presentation. I was like, oh my God, I have a dog. I love animals. Like this just doesn't line up. I can't do this. So that presentation kind of changed it. I was like, okay, I'm done. I got to go vegan. I actually tried a few months prior to this presentation. Someone at our religious center, he kind of put everyone on a challenge. He was like, be vegan for a month. And so I tried it and I gave up after 2 weeks. I was like, never again. But then, yeah, I saw this presentation. I was like, no, I have to. I love animals too much to keep saying that I love animals and then kind of causes pain and be vegetarian. So that's what inspired me. And that's, I did start first.
so how did that roll into like your parents? Did you how much like your parents are so passionate about it, like plant-based eating, and they're helping thousands of people. right, to adopt this lifestyle, and where they have helped people to, in this journey, help people to get off medications, lose chronic, like lose weight and reverse chronic disease. So they have done a lot of good work. So how did your change, like, did your parents roll their eyes off, like when they heard you that you're not going to eat like milk, or because milk is something that you grew up with, right? Especially in
Yeah.
Indian families, like milk, cheese, butter is so common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I grew up on curd rice and ghee and eggs. Oh, I definitely still miss it a little, but no, I wish I could take credit. Whatever my parents have done is definitely on their own like ambition and passion, and I'm so happy and proud of them. I think the only real role that I had was just like bringing that information. I know personally, even before I went vegan, I knew basically nothing about all the options out there and this whole plant-based living, and my dad definitely found out about the no oil, and that's how he incorporated it for me. And I started eating more like whole food plant based. But I think my role is just like bringing that information. My parents have always been really supportive of me, which is the like greatest blessing. So they weren't ever like, no, you can't be vegan. I think they just didn't know, like, oh, this is what veganism is, that it's totally healthy, actually, probably healthier. So I think just bringing that information in. And as I kept being vegan, they're like, okay, we're going to read up and learn about it. And they ended up becoming vegan themselves. So
Yeah. And you also brought up a beautiful point, Avantika. Like when you said initially you tried for 2 weeks and you were saying, okay, this is it, I'm not going to do. But when actually it really tugged your heart, when you said, okay, I don't want any animals to suffer, that's when you were so sure and you had no questions. Like it was not like, okay, I'm going back, or is it something that I can do? So this is such a beautiful example, like when our why is so strong, like why we want to do this, instead of, okay, let me try this as a challenge, or let me do it for whatever reason. So, like, this is such a beautiful example. Like, when we have a strong why, we do it no matter what. So, initially, like, when you started on this journey, so when you told your parents, okay, like, I'm not going to have this, and so, and like, how did your friend or even close family members, like your grandparents or your aunt, uncle, like, everybody else in the family react to this?
yeah, so my friends definitely were just like, "Oh, she's just trying something new. She's gonna give it up." And I think like around this time it was kind of like trending being vegan, that like LA lifestyle. And so they're like, oh, she's just following the trend. But I think they definitely were just like confused more than anything. Just basic curiosity of like, why is she giving up so many like tasty foods? I think that was like the main reaction from my friends and even like my family. I think my relatives had a harder time just because like you said, it is tied in Indian culture, and like religion has an impact on it, right? So I think they're a little bit more concerned of like, oh, she's going vegan. Like, I don't know if that's the healthiest option. So initially there was concern on that, but I would say an overall consensus of just like, I'm more confusion and curiosity of like why she'd give something up in her life. So yeah, I think that was the general reaction.
Were they worried that you were not getting enough nutrients, or like you have to drink your milk? Was there anything going
Yeah,
on?
so being honest, I don't remember what my parents' reaction was about like nutrients necessarily. Because I think by that time I was like, I'm doing it. Like no one's changing my mind. But I know my grandparents definitely were like, she needs to have ghee and milk, and those are things that are essential for your strong bones. And so there were people who were telling me it's unhealthy. And even still to this day, I have close friends that are like, if you want to see results, because like being an athlete and stuff, they're like, if you want to see results, you should have a bunch of protein and drink milk. And so it's like, I'm not going to do that, but you have your own opinion. So I think there are always going to be some people who think that. But yeah, when I first went vegan, I think my grandparents and extended family were concerned that I wasn't going to get calcium and whatever other nutrients people think milk gives you.
And what happened with your grandparents when they changed their lifestyle?
I mean, yeah, it's just kind of funny. Look how the tables turned, right? I was like, I told you guys. I don't know, but I'm glad. I'm glad they went vegan. But no, I think it's just. I also didn't know that much, so I wasn't in a position to be like, do it exactly my way. But I'm glad that it came around, and I think that's in general. Like instead of forcing people, showing how you're living your lifestyle, and if they ask questions about like the benefits, and then slowly they'll turn around. And that's exactly what happened for me.
Yeah.
That's really powerful, like leading by example and giving them the space. And just for our viewers, like do want to let them know that like your grandparents, they changed in their 70s, right? Like pretty much their diet and lifestyle, and with that they saw so many benefits, like coming off of some medications, improving their health overall, like finding more energy. And it's quite amazing like how they transform, and even in that age.
Yeah, we got
Yes.
some young people, my sister and my grandparents, different age spectrums, and they both converted. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
excellent. Yeah, we have some comments like here. Dr. Madhuri, she's saying like amazing. Avantika Ganesh is saying awesome, like your journey. It's quite inspiring what you have done so far.
Yeah. So at that time, so like how old were you like when you discovered all this and went a vegan or plant-based?
Yeah, so I didn't even know what vegan was until elementary, middle school. And then I actually found out, so that 1 month in like February 2016, when someone challenged me to a month, I did no research. I just went blindly and I was like, okay, no dairy and no butter. Like that's all I did. And it was just awful. And then after the lady presented, I think it was in like April or May 2016, I did more research about it. I learned like the realities of the industry, and then I learned different options. So all the plant milks and whatever alternatives. And I think I went vegan in June. So I was 15. And in the beginning, that 2016, that's when I started educating myself. And as I continued being vegan, I learned more. So, yeah.
So at that time, obviously, like when you were in school, so like how was the cafeteria food and like were there many options for you to have this?
Yeah, definitely not. I think it's getting better. Like in 2021, everyone's being more inclusive of people. So there's more vegan options, I'm sure, in schools now. But at the time, I mean, they didn't even have vegetarian options. I think the only vegetarian options was pizza and like pasta, that too, Alfredo pasta. So it's like not many options. I was taking food from home. And then when I went vegan, those weren't obviously there. And I was actually thinking about it. I used to have my like treat every day in lunch was a flaming pack of hot Cheetos, like the flaming pack of hot Cheetos, and it has milk powder in it. So I just like even like the little snacks that I used to have, I couldn't have those, and like goldfish and all those things I used to bring in between classes, I couldn't have those. So there weren't options, but it's also not too hard to bring food from home. Even like if you want to make a PBJ or something pretty simple and like decently healthy, you can still do that. So yeah, there wasn't that many options in the cafeteria or in the dining halls when I entered college, unfortunately. So yeah.
Oh, that must be so heartbreaking. You can't have your Cheetos or chips.
No.
Goldfish.
No, it's worth it. I'm glad I can't have them now.
Yeah. So how did you manage at the time? Like, did you used to take food from home, and what kind of foods did you take?
Yeah, well, I'm blessed. My mother is like the best chef in the world. She likes cooking, and she gracefully cooked for me and my sister. So she used to send food. We'd have Indian food and like sometimes American or like pasta or whatever. So I used to always take that. And then like snacks would be fruit or, I mean, at the time I would have Oreos. Oreos are vegan. So like little vegan snacks that I could have, I would have. But again, like you said before, the why, when I was there, all my friends would be having their Cheetos or whatever snacks or eating pizza in front of me when that craving was still pretty strong. And I used to just remind myself, okay, I'm doing this because of this reason. And that was enough to be like, okay, the craving's there, but I don't need to indulge in it. And so I think just reminding yourself why you're doing it that was how I got through, like, I think the first year, which is the hardest.
Hmm. And you're in college right now, like you're in your junior in college, and so being in college, like it is challenging, right? Like to eat this way because yeah, I'm sure that your dorm cafeteria or like your it's you probably won't have any many options. Like how are you managing now? What kind of uh,
Yeah. It's actually funny, senior year of high school, like after I submit all my applications, my favorite pastime, because I'm a big foodie. I don't like cooking, but I love eating. I used to look up dining hall menus, and like I remember there were certain schools that have like vegan pancakes, and I was so excited. And then I went to the school that like the only vegan option was salads or like beans and rice or like an avocado sushi roll that was a day old. So I got the worst situation possible, but luckily it was only 1 year. It honestly is not as hard as people make it. It's like, again, if you have a strong why, you can do it. So what I did is I used to enjoy the dining hall food. I would have salads. Honestly, I was probably the healthiest I ever was having all those salads. And then I had a microwave. So again, I'm not like a big chef, but I just used to go to the grocery store and make like microwavable rice, and I'd get frozen veggies, put soy sauce, and have like little microwave stir fry, or I'd make tacos in my dorm. And so getting just like creative with little things that you can do. And still to this day, I have oatmeal every morning. So having oatmeal in the microwave is so easy. And I learned how to microwave sweet potatoes, and like just little things, or like a can of beans you can just strain really quickly and eat. So just like little things like that in my dorm made it really easy. And yeah, just like, again, knowing why you're doing it, and then it's not too hard, you can make the most of it.
Excellent. Yeah, I know, like those little tricks really help us. Yeah. So, like, okay, either in school or now, like, were you heckled by your friends, or like, were there any comments from your friends?
Yeah, I mean, I hope whoever your friends are, they wouldn't make fun of something if you're passionate about it. So I was lucky. None of my friends really were like, you're doing the wrong thing. No one made fun of me. I think people actually, they felt bad. They were like, I'm so sorry, you can't eat this. Like, and I was like, no, it's okay. Like, this is my choice. Don't worry. So I was luckily never made fun of. And people would like tease as a joke, and it was like, oh, you're vegan, you eat grass. And that was like the extent of it, but it was all like fun and games. I think the only situation that I've experienced that was like not even uncomfortable, but it's just that people think that you're going to be unhealthy. And so they like to put their opinions on you and tell you that you're eating unhealthy. And it's just something you have to take and be like, I know what I know, so I'm just going to let you tell me, and then ignore it. So that's the only experience I've really had, but no one's really made fun of me.
So were you like did you just read up on something so that you're more aware of the nutrient stuff, or like, or did you just just go with a gut feeling like, I'm okay? I did. Some people uh, would
Because yeah, like
yeah, some people are like so
parents and grandparents would worry so much,
yeah, like
and
whether
then
you're gonna get
too.
enough nutrients or not. Like, so did you read up or anything? Did you have some information to
I really wish I was more like proactive about it. I mean, I went vegan when I was 15. I really didn't care about nutrition at that point. I was just like, I'm doing it, enjoy. And like, that's kind of how it was. And I was lucky that my parents, like, they did their research when they wanted to go vegan. And so that's how all the health information, it's come from my parents. And I'm like really lucky about that. But I definitely, I fell into the trap of like, drink 6 glasses of milk every day, like the got milk ads. I used to believe that. And so when I did go vegan, I did make sure like that almond milk had just as much calcium. That was the only thing I really checked. But now I know all the information mainly from my parents. But yeah, and it's all out there. It's pretty easy to learn out. There's so many documentaries and stuff. And now also 5 years later, I have done my own research, but in the beginning, I wasn't the best about that.
so what advice would you have for a, yeah, like a 16-year-old who wants to go vegan now, like who wants to go plant-based now?
Yeah. Well, for someone who wants to go plant-based, know why you're doing it. And because cravings are just unfortunately the like strongest biological urge, at least for me, like there's always going to be things out there that you want to eat. So know why you're doing it and have like a good reason to always fall back on when you have those cravings. In terms of not, I guess not convincing, but in terms of making your parents or peers like supportive of you, just educating. And like a lot of people are curious naturally. All my friends have always asked me like why I'm vegan, and I explain it. So just educating them on like, this is why I'm doing it. And in terms of health, there's so much information obviously out there. So just showing them even like a basic documentary that's all prepackaged and nicely put out with information, and be like, this is what I've read up and learned, and this is the like realities of being vegan. And this is why I'm doing it. And hopefully, if they support you and love you, they'll come around to it. So just, yeah, educating others about why you're doing it so they can support you. Yeah.
That's good. Like, as you said, there are so many documentaries out there now. Like,
Yeah, for
where
example, like Forks Over Knives is there, and for
Cowspiracy.
especially like teenagers, like the game changers would be,
Yeah.
yeah. I was thinking like when you said your friends were worried that you're not going to be athletic. Like if you want to be athletic, you need to eat meat. So, and I don't know whether they saw game
No,
changers
I
or even
really
heard game
am
changers?
with game changers. I need people to see this. I have like all my friends are gonna come over. I'm just gonna put it on. They're gonna have to watch it with me. That's
Yes. So like, I mean, there is Game Changers, Cowspiracy,
yeah.
Seaspiracy. So recently they have released Seaspiracy, which is an excellent documentary as well. So as you
Environment.
said there, mhm.
That really got me to continue being vegan. Because I'll be honest, after like a year or two, I was getting a little hard sometimes. And so, yeah, Cowspiracy really did it to me. I was like, I'm never not going vegan again, you know, like I'm being vegan for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and that's also important, like to reinforce and relearn something, like because after a few months to years, sometimes it may get boring, right? So like maybe and especially if you're in the minority, so learning something new and from a new documentary or like some new health information will also help us to stay on track.
Yeah.
And you mentioned a very important point, like how strong biologically the cravings can be. So, having a strong why, and other thing is having alternatives. Like so, whatever we crave for, like people most of the time they may crave for chips or chocolate or so, but all of these can be made plant-based from healthy ingredients. So, having alternatives also we found that that helps as well, like especially when you're transitioning.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Actually, last semester, me and my roommates did like this nacho table. It was trending on TikTok, and I mean, tortilla chips are naturally vegan, pretty much all of them. But I like made potato tortilla chips, and I made cheese sauce out of carrots and potatoes, and I just made mine basically like 100% compliant. And I just had it on the side, and they had their normal nachos. And so there's so many options to do that. And yeah.
Yes, yeah. In fact, we actually had that today. We had some nachos and cheese sauce at home. So we had we have the whole wheat pitas, and we get
Yeah.
from our local store. There is no oil. Compliments brand here. So we had Shobha. She just microwaved that thing like for a minute and a half, and that becomes so brittle. You break that into like crunchy chips, and then we made the cheese sauce, the Giftofhealth cheese sauce out of potatoes, carrots, and cashews, onion powder, garlic powder, and salt, and threw some peppers, and we had some steamed cauliflower. So different veggies, like it turned out to be so tasty.
Oh, that sounds good. I gotta try that next time.
So we have a question here from one of our viewers. So they're asking, how did you manage to convince your parents to eat vegan?
So I didn't really actually convince my parents to go vegan. They did that on their own research for health and stuff. But like I said before, I think me being vegan and like continuing to be vegan also like made them be like, oh, maybe like we could continue to also like I know my sister more than my parents. She saw that me and my parents are being vegan and continuing to be vegan. And so then she just naturally did it by like always seeing us. So I guess more lead by example and educate them if they're curious rather than force them because it's pretty easy not to be vegan nowadays and it's kind of hard to be forced into that. So just yeah, lead by example, educate them, and I think that's all you can really do.
Okay. So, like, what would you say to a teenager or anybody like who wants to change to plant-based eating, but if they're getting any resistance from their parents or family members or friends to support that decision, what
Yeah, I
tips do you have for them?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is educating someone. A lot of the times people give resistance when they're uncomfortable or they don't know something. And I think that's the same thing with any diet change. There's so much malinformation out in there in the world and so many like fad diets and there's just places to get confusion or like confused in this whole thing. So educating them on why it's, if they have a health concern, educating them like, hey, this is like genuine health benefits of it. And I'm honestly actually healthier doing this. And yeah, just educating them. And if there's other reasons you want to share, like why you're doing it, if it's animal cruelty or the environment, just showing them that. I think that's the best like route to go. And just showing them how passionate you are. Like if they keep saying it, maybe make yourself something vegan and just keep like cooking for yourself and going out and only eating vegan, like showing them that it's something important to you. I would hope that your parents, would want to support that if it's always really important to you.
Yes, that's for sure. Yeah. And okay, so we have a question. What are your favorite go-to foods now?
Yes. So I'm still transitioning all my snacks. I think the main things. So I like rice. I'm Indian, right? I love rice. I love like your normal dal. Anything Indian, I'll eat in a heartbeat. In terms of like the more processed replacements, desserts, fruits are my best friend. I love just eating bananas and whatever for breakfast. It's always oatmeal every day, no matter what. And then like if I ever crave chips or something salty, I'll usually eat like a can of chickpeas or kidney beans because they got like a little bit of salt in them anyways. And so I love beans. But I think day to day it's just like a lot of vegetables and dal and rice. I don't know. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah, and what staples do you keep in your pantry in your college?
Yeah, so college is a different story. I wish I was as talented as my mother. I'm not. So for me, it's a lot of like, so I always have sweet potatoes or some kind of potato. Um, and I actually recently found these like purple yams. They're ube. You can get them at the Asian store. Those are so good as a dessert. I got my roommates hooked on them. They're not vegan, but they love eating those for dessert. So highly recommend. And then I'll always usually have maybe like a block of tofu that's really easy to stir fry or just make like a sandwich with, and then the basic vegetables, so like spinach, like a salad mix, cucumbers, tomatoes. That's like really easy to throw into a salad. And then I have like a little stack in my pantry of like 6 to 7 cans of beans. Like every week, I always have it on hand. And then yeah, like normal spices. And if I have the time, I'll cook Indian. I'll have like all the dals and stuff, and it's pretty easy to make in an instant pot. But yeah, just like veggies to stir fry and make a salad. That's like usually my go-to.
So those are actually very great tips, Avantika. So like you have an instant pot, which I mean, you can just throw stuff in and cook it and just turn the plug on. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. It's not that like you would need a stove for that. And also like it's interesting your pantry items too, like having some sweet potatoes, tofu, beans, and you can do so many things with them. So that's
And if you have like a mini fridge, like having some frozen vegetables and
Mhm.
frozen fruit, yeah,
Frozen vegetables, definitely. I have a lot of those, and it's just so easy. Put in like even like just a pan and just saute with some sauce, and there you go.
yeah.
And I've done that multiple times
You
too.
don't have to cut the vegetables. You don't have to.
Yeah,
They're already
it's so
pre-
easy nowadays to like be healthy and be vegan and be like whole food plant based.
Yeah. So, what benefits have you noticed from being plant-based?
Yeah, so I when I went vegan initially, I was pretty like eating on the process. I didn't notice those benefits initially, but now like eating more whole food plant based and no oil, um, I there's like it's I guess sorry it's a not a straightforward answer. It's more like later on life benefits. So as a girl, I'll kind of start from the beginning. I used to drink like 8 glasses of milk a day, right? And I got my period in puberty. I hit that like way earlier. I hit it when I was 11 versus my sister who went vegan at 11 or 12. She hit it like end of 14. And so in terms of puberty, like started way earlier than probably if I was vegan growing up. And then on top of that, like acne, once I quit out dairy, acne kind of went away. And my sister really hardly has any now that she doesn't even have dairy. So no real acne. Menstrual cycle, this is more for women. So actually last semester I got really stressed one month. I was kind of eating a lot of like pre-packaged foods and it had a little bit of oil in it. And the month after, or like 2 months after I did that, my period was just so painful and like I could barely get out of bed. And then the months before that, when I was being no oil and whole food plant based, I had no pains. I was like a very good normal period. So in terms of menstrual cycles, like way less cramps and way less pain. And then I think overall, just feeling like more energetic. I noticed I don't get sick. Like the second vaccine had really no impact, and my friends did. So just like I feel healthier and a little bit more energy, and yeah, just like a general lightness to life, which is just I guess the feeling of being healthy. So not a straightforward answer, but those are some of the benefits I've experienced.
Those are amazing benefits, actually.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like, and you put it so well, like all the things that you experience, and medically as well. This is so important that many people don't realize that having a puberty on at an optimal time is so important. Like, having a puberty, research
11.
shows that having a puberty around like 14, 15 is much healthier
Yeah.
overall compared to having puberty around like earlier. So
Like
Mhm.
it also, I mean, mitigates or avoids having hormonal related cancer at a later stage,
yeah.
whether it is ovarian cancer or uterine cancer. So,
So
like, there
many
is.
medical benefits of like that itself, and then acne is we have heard about acne and from
Yeah,
even
no
many
teenager wants it. Go vegan.
and many people are not aware, like people are using even almost some anti-cancer drugs for acne,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
and not knowing that how powerful the diet and lifestyle changes can be to get rid of acne. And
Yeah.
you notice the difference in the menstrual uh, uh, like cycles as well. That is, I mean, that itself is so important, right? Like especially when you're studying and working. So that's
Yeah. And
uh,
sorry, I just wanted to add real quick. My mom and I both, I mean, my mom had worse like menstrual related problems, and genetically I have the same thing. So I have like very mild PCOS, and obviously most people in this country go to birth control, which is, I mean, everyone's decision's their own, but like healing that naturally, just eating healthier foods, I've noticed an impact in that. And so, you can heal things without taking birth control, which are going to mess up your hormones. And all you have to do is eat plants. It's so easy. So, yeah.
good, good, excellent. Yeah. Well, uh, it's just like for us, what really gives us a joy and meaning to our work is to see people get healthier, and we get such a kick out of helping people to reverse chronic disease and get them off of their medications for if they have diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, PCOS with lifestyle changes. But this is even more joyful is to just you have caught on this lifestyle at such
Very,
a
very
early
early on.
stage so that you don't have to struggle with any of these
Yeah,
issues. Yeah,
like we didn't know all this like at your age, and so it's really heartwarming to see that like you just got this early on,
yeah,
like so many years we
yeah.
like
So
we have
when
been
we
eating all that. I mean, like either the processed food or animal based foods, never realizing. And
Hmm.
so it's really nice to see that like you got this on early, and you're reaping the benefits of this already.
Yeah.
So, congratulations on that. Like, so you are into like marketing and sales and advertising, like you're going in that career. Like, so do you see like you doing something with all this knowledge that you had from your first-hand experience about the plant-based eating? Would you be doing something with this with your in the future plans, anything around that?
I definitely have thought about it. I don't know what I'd want to do yet. I definitely want to have, something related to it and an impact, because I mean there's benefits on nature and animals and obviously everyone's health, because that's the number one thing. So hopefully maybe one day. I haven't thought of the idea yet. So if anyone wants to elevator pitch something, I'm happy to go on board. But yeah, I don't know yet, but definitely want to have something related to that impact. I think that'd be really cool.
So we have wonderful comments here, Avantika. So there's, oh, love Avantika's bold personality and confidence, beautiful soul, so brave, honest, and inspiring. Great ideas. So like people are
And
loving the tips.
and your
Yeah.
mama is saying frozen cherries is one of your favorite desserts.
Yes, wait, I have to put everyone on this. I can't take credit. I found this on Plentiful Kiki. She's on YouTube. She actually really helped me become healthier in college. She said frozen cherries, best dessert. I've also put all my roommates on that. It is so healthy and they taste so good. Anytime you have a chocolate craving, have a frozen cherry. So amazing. So yeah, that's like the best discovery I found. Oh my God.
Yeah. So we get this dark red frozen cherries.
Yeah.
What I mean, we eat them just like that. Sometimes we actually we have this. an ice cream maker, the Yonanas
Ooh,
or the desert
yeah.
bullet. Like we just put these
Yeah,
frozen
the
cherries through
cherries.
that, and you get this cherry ice cream.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, even like you can do it like the bananas, right?
Yeah,
Making
yeah.
ice
Mm-hmm.
cream
Mhm.
and stuff. So good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So these are so easy to make, right? Like making things like ice cream and popcorn, even chips, the potato chips, are all these things can be made without oil, without using any processed ingredients, and so you don't have to miss anything. Like even when when you transition, that's what many people worry about. Is a lot of people like do you hear sometimes your friends saying, "Oh, I really want to do what you're doing, but I can't do that."
I think it's more with vegan. So with no oil, I'm not like outspoken about it just because I want to know more before I tell people. But so in my apartment, I'm glad you said like they think they're missing something. Me and my roommates will cook together, and when I cook, I don't use oil. And so when we cook together, I still don't use oil. And they're like, "Okay, that's fine, we won't do it." And then they don't realize like when I'll feed them something, and they're like, "Oh, you didn't put any oil in this?" I'm like, "No, I didn't. Like nothing's in here." And so yeah, no, there's some people that they don't think you don't think you can do it, and then they taste it and they're like, oh, this is so good. Like I'm not missing anything. So yeah, I think just showing them that it's so easy. And then even eating vegan, my friends all see like all the alternatives I have, and I don't think it's as hard as they think it is now. Yeah.
So, were there any instances, Avantika, like where either way, where you like if you were traveling or going some places where the options were not so easily available? Like, did you come across any situations where, like, you were not able to get foods that are plant-based? And if you had undergone that situation, how did you manage during those times?
Yeah, so I'm trying to think. The only time I remember being like really difficult was in 2016 July. So like this is right when I first went vegan. I went on this volunteer trip in India for 2 weeks, and like they had just like this normal cafeteria with the normal Indian dishes, but everything had curd in it. And so like breakfast was milk and cereal. I just didn't have breakfast. I would ask them if there's mango that day, I would have it, but if not, I just like drink a lot of water and hope that I had a heavy lunch. So that's how I did that. And then like lunch, I just have like dal and sabji and make sure that there was no ghee and stuff. So again, I really wanted to be vegan, so I just kind of took the sacrifice and didn't eat whenever I couldn't eat. But since then, I think it's been really easy. A lot of European countries are like really good with veganism. America is getting better with it. And it's kind of fun. Like it's a chance to see what vegan food you'll find. So yeah, I haven't had a really bad experience. I think the biggest tip is like preparing. If you know you're going to travel somewhere, do some research, see if there's like vegan options. If there aren't, I know when my family, when I went to Australia, we like brought a cooker and we cooked vegan meals in the hotel. So just like knowing what your options are and then prepping for that. And so you have options no matter what, whether it's there or you're like providing it. I think that's the best way to go about that.
Excellent. And when you go to restaurants, like, do you have any trouble?
No, I there's always something vegan I've discovered no matter what. And like I know like brunch is one of my friends' favorite thing to do, and there's always oatmeal. Like you can never, there's always something. It might not be what you want. There's not gonna be as many options. That's just the reality of things. But there's always gonna be a salad. There's always gonna be an oatmeal. Like I've never had an experience where I haven't found something vegan. So
Do you want to say something about the sushi bowls you make?
are my parents putting that in the comments?
Yeah.
Well, like I've been saying, I'm not the biggest chef, and so like the few things I do make, I'll send it to them because I get excited. I don't know. I just came to me. I basically just put rice and it's like a deconstructed sushi bowl. I sushi is also really easy to make. You can roll it by your hands and it's super healthy. But I just put rice, purple cabbage, cucumbers, edamame, carrots, like all the veggies that you can normally put in sushi, right? And I made a peanut dressing out of like the PB powder, so it's lower fat. You can find it at any grocery store, and that with some soy sauce and agave, I mixed it and I put it, and it was like a deconstructed sushi bowl, and it was really good. But you can also make sushi and just roll it up. I put avocado, carrots, cucumber, rice, And like you can put sweet potato, I've put asparagus before, you just roll it up and eat it. And it's so compliant and so filling and like really tasty. So yeah, that's the sushi bowl.
Yeah, sushi bowl. Yeah, actually, the nori sheets, you can crumble it up, right? And put that in that bowl, like,
They're really high
and
in iodine and iron. So
yeah,
they're like good for you. Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
excellent.
So we had one question, I think, which you already answered. So they're asking, are you also oil free?
Uh, I am mostly oil free. I want to say I am, but when I go out, sometimes I will have food with oil. But at the house and like whenever I cook, yes, I'm completely oil free.
Good. Dr. Sirisha says that she loves your name.
Thanks. My mom will be very happy.
What does Avantika mean?
I think it means humble, but I think I was named after Ujjain Kirani's The Queen of Avantika, but I think it means humble.
Humble. Excellent. Very nice.
Nice. Okay, so yeah, like I know, like after the show, like you could log on and you can see like all the beautiful comments that you're getting. So like yeah, people are really enjoying and getting tips too. So they love your idea of frozen cherries. They're like, oh, thanks for the tip.
Yeah. So you've been 5 years into this or 4 years into this now?
Yeah, 5 years in June. I have my vegan anniversary coming up. I'm so excited. I want to celebrate it. But yeah, 5 years this June.
5 years, yeah. So do you ever get like cravings for the foods that you used to love before, like the
Like
cheese or
chips
the butter, like what?
or the Doritos.
So I'm lucky. I never liked cheese when I was vegetarian. So that craving automatically is gone. And everything else, there's an alternative. Now it's not compliant with like no oil, but there's vegan ice cream. There's so many vegan meats, vegan egg now, like all these new things. So I don't have any cravings anymore because I usually like could find a vegan if I wanted to. But when I'm trying to be like no oil and compliant, yeah, of course I have cravings. Like I miss it, and even I'm not gonna lie, when I smell eggs, I do miss eggs. And it's 5 years later, but I think just again having those alternatives, and also when you're full, you're not gonna have cravings as strongly, or like when you're eating something, like that's with the frozen cherries. Anytime I had a chocolate craving, I would just eat a frozen cherry. And like your brain can't, it's not that smart. It can't crave chocolate when you're like eating a cherry. So yes, I have cravings, but it's pretty easy to deal with it as long as you're eating something else.
It's so cute. You said your brain cannot crave chocolate.
I mean, I gotta think around. My brain I love food, I gotta say. So yeah, it's been a little bit hard to not eat the nice junk food that tastes good but doesn't treat your body right.
So this Dr. Chandrasekhar says like Avantika also means it's another name for Parvati.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
something you learn. Yeah,
Learn something new every day.
yeah, yeah. So have you tried some? Susan is asking, have you tried just egg?
I have.
Okay,
The second
we haven't
ingredient,
tried it. Like, tell us. Can you tell us more about it?
yeah. So I think the second or third ingredient is canola oil. So I try to like avoid it. I tried it just out of curiosity. It's a great replacement for like scrambled eggs. And I have some friends who are vegetarian, and they're like, it tastes exactly like eggs. If it was a little cheaper, we wouldn't mind having that. So if you want to try it, go for it. Like if you're just starting to go vegan and it's just hard to get over those cravings, it's pretty high in protein. It's made out of chickpea flour, but I don't recommend maybe long term just because of the oil content.
Yeah,
But it's a great
so
replacement.
the other thing is like if you like scrambled eggs, it's so easy to
It's a
make with
really good
tofu,
replacement.
right? Like scrambled, yeah.
Yeah.
And one tip that we Shobha does is like we use black salt, right?
Mm-hmm.
The black salt, it actually has a little bit of egg.
It's like the sulfuric taste of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. So like when we make the scrambled tofu, just you instead of using the regular salt, use the black salt, and that brings so much of like a egg
Yeah.
taste. Yeah.
That and nutritional yeast, I think those are
Yes.
like
Yeah.
two great.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing. I went vegan when all these alternatives weren't there. And so I kind of feel like I feel like you know that people in the 90s, I guess you guys are in that generation where you didn't have phone and all of a sudden it's like this new technology. That's how I feel. I feel like this old vegan that, oh my God, now there's this vegan egg that I never grew up with. So if you can like stay away from these alternatives, honestly do it because they're all processed. But if you're having a hard time with the craving, go for it. But yeah, tofu scramble, and I've seen like tofu and like to make a vegan eggs benedict, you can use like tofu and cook it with the right seasoning, and it's a great replacement. So
Mm.
yes.
Yeah, that's a very important point, right? Like many people, when they're transitioning, they find like they go for a processed plant foods, right? Alternatives, things like cheese, fake cheeses, or
Mhm.
fake meats, or this like fake eggs. All of these, even though they may be labeled as vegan and plant-based, these are heavily processed.
Yeah.
Especially if people are doing it for the health reasons, right? So it's so detrimental for the health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, we have another question here. Not sure if you have talked about this before, but have you seen any changes in the mental health too by
How
following?
you feel like with this way of eating?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Mental health is something like really close to my heart. I noticed that when I'm eating healthier, my mental clarity is so much better. It's really easy for if I am feeling low, if I'm eating something healthy, I don't really fall into anything lower, and it's actually easy for me to get up. I just feel like I don't know how to explain other than saying I feel clearer and cleaner. I feel like lighter. And so my mental clarity is better. I notice that if I'm feeling low and I go into, and I learned this the hard way, if I'm eating something processed when I'm feeling low, you know, like comfort foods, they say like ice cream or Maggie or pasta or whatever that has high concentration of fat, I notice I feel worse the next day and it's actually harder for me. So 100%, yes, I have noticed that. And if whoever asked the question, if you eat meat, you can read up. They show that anxiety is like larger when you have meat and dairy because the animal is anxious when because they know that they're about to get killed or put into a painful situation. And so the anxiety hormones in their body get into the meat and dairy industry or the meat and dairy products that you're consuming. And so you're like consuming liquid and solid anxiety. So that's another thing I definitely want to put out there. But yes, 100% notice a great benefit when I eat cleaner in my mental state.
It's so nice. You're consuming liquid and solid anxiety
Yes,
when you're eating that.
because you not only eat the nutrition from that meat or dairy, but you're also eating the emotion, the state of emotion
Yes.
that the animal was in as well. So, and where is an animal that it's happy to get killed?
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah,
they're pretty smart. They know what's going down. So
yeah,
they feel all those pain.
good, good.
Yeah.
So,
We have another question here. It says, okay, when you travel to India and visit family and friends, do you find it challenging to follow whole food, plant-based, no oil nutrition?
This is funny because I the last time I went to India was 2018. So I wasn't actually pretty like no oil at that point. I just didn't want to be, and my parents didn't force it on me. So it definitely is harder. I don't know the personal experience because I didn't do it. I don't think it's the hardest though, because if you're there with relatives, usually you have a kitchen, you can cook for yourself. At the end of the day, that's always an option, right? You can always cook for yourself. In terms of telling relatives, I mean, if you just explain it to them and like maybe cook with them, no oil, that should be it. But I know my relatives can be a little pushy on it. And so it was a little difficult just explaining it, but it's not difficult if you just cook for yourself. Don't eat street food, obviously, things like that. So yes and no. It's as hard as you want it to be. If you cook for yourself, it's not going to be hard. But if you are like adamant about eating with others, you're just going to have to tell people and stuff. And restaurants, I don't know any restaurants that are no oil in India yet, but if there are, go to those. If not, again, get a salad, get rice and the like oil freest, like the least oil dish that you can find, and go about it like that way. So
Yeah, I mean, I bet I'm yet to see like any restaurant in India that I mean cooks without oil, but
yeah.
yeah, but what we
yeah,
found is that like if you are a little bit thoughtful about it, like let's say um, rice, in yes, you could be less confident in the sense you'll get the white rice. It's still okay, like not the best. Like it's better to go for the brown rice,
The
but
brown
like
rice,
yeah. And then if you go for dal, like dal is the lentils, like the for the people like who are not familiar with this term, it's like dal, like there is no oil. And then what we found is like when we were traveling, many places have these rotis are the flatbread. Yeah,
Tandoori roti,
yeah.
which they actually put no oil or butter.
Yeah, and we can like you could also get naans. We can tell them that like don't put any oil or butter in it. So you could get naan or you can get roti, you can get dal, you can get rice. What more do you want? And we have used people like when they make the curries, like at the restaurants, we tell them we are allergic to oil. When you
I
say
was gonna say,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I
Because
actually,
if you tell them that I don't put oil, the people will still put oil. Like, but if you say you're allergic to oil, then people are really worried to put oil. So that has worked as well. So
I was gonna say, Eve, I haven't tried in the US, but I mean, if it works for you, great. I have, or in India, I have done the US. My dad, we go to restaurants and he was trying to explain to them why he's doing no oil. But like, realistically, you just gotta tell them what they need to hear. And so I was like, just tell them you're allergic. They can't question that. They can
yeah,
question
yeah. There's no point in explaining
your,
it to them.
your
They know.
allergies. So yeah, that's definitely the trick. Just easily, I'm allergic. They won't put it done.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And also, like nowadays in India, there are a lot of continental restaurants too, and they also offer steamed vegetables. So you can tell them, okay, can we just have a bowl of steamed vegetables without any oil and butter? And we have got that many times as well.
Hmm. And then have dal. Like you have dal, you have the veggies, you have the roti, and you'll make a sumptuous, tasty meal.
Mhm.
Yeah, you'll live. It's not gonna be like every option, but you'll live.
Yes, yeah.
And also, and especially like if you're traveling to South India or looking for South Indian food, so you can definitely ask the waiter to make dosas, crepes without oil. So the restaurants, I mean, they do cater to that request as well. Yeah.
I think my dad's done that before too. So
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And okay. Okay, so here, and okay.
I think we have come to the end of the questions. Like, sometimes when we tell people that we have come to the end of questions, we are wrapping this up, then people will start typing questions. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, like, this is, yeah, like, I once received an email from a 16-year-old kid who said that I don't want to have dairy, and it has been really hard for me to convince my parents. And even though initially I was successful in convincing my parents, it was very difficult when my aunt and uncle. Like they have a son, and he always brainwashes them that I have to have dairy. So, like, what tips or suggestion would you give that teenager? And that girl was also very was looking for ways how she can explain it to her parents that she doesn't want to have dairy. And so, any tips for her?
yeah, so kind of with the question before earlier of like how to convince others, I think the same route is like educating them. And you can even start with the cousin or uncle and aunt that are so adamant about it. Show them documentaries, show them articles, and like all the health benefits. If health is a concern, you can show them like here's the reality, and you can't really argue with that much science presented and all the research. So I think educating is the number one step. And if they are still like really hesitant on it, keep cooking, showing them alternatives, and doing that, and just keep like coming and showing up like, okay, I want to be vegan, like I'm going to keep trying and keep trying and keep educating. And I think a combination of those two hopefully should work, because at the end of the day, like telling someone what the reality is better than just kind of expecting them to support you blindly. If you just educate them on why you're doing it, that usually works, and they'll be a little bit more supportive. So
Excellent. That's a great tip.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we found as well.
Mhm.
Like, leading by example and education. Like, because many people around us are very smart. It's just that they have limited information most of the time, we find.
I
And
mean,
once
people are
we,
afraid of what they don't know. And right now, especially so much malinformation out there. So I'm sure they care for you. You just have to show them the right information, show them what you've read and why you want to go vegan and kind of go from there.
excellent. Well, Avantika, thank you so much for joining us. It's
It
been such a
For
treat
having
to.
me.
it was such a pleasure chatting with you, and like you offered so many tips and I would say invaluable knowledge too. So thank you so much.
No, I'm glad to help. Well, thank you for doing this show and like helping other people. I'm so glad you guys do it.
Yes, and all the best to you. Like, we see that you have a very, very bright future ahead of you, and we are so proud of what you have done so far. And it's just amazing, like what you have accomplished and the direction you're
Thank
going in.
you. Thank you.